tune into your body and try to appreciate it. Because in a moment where I didn't know if my body would survive, it did wonders for me. And it was really good to me, despite how bad I was to it.
Yeah.
I abused my body, that I can assuredly say. And it still was like, I'm going to fight for you.
Hi, I'm Lydia Thompson, and I am the host of Counselor Off the Clock and a licensed counselor. My aim is to make mental health conversations more accessible and to keep you company while you grow. This is our last episode of the season and the second episode in our At Home series. It is truly an honor to have my friend Tina Parol on the podcast. She shares about her successes in the music industry, her struggles with bulimia, and a redefinition of her identity after having surgery for scoliosis. If you've loved this season or you've just tuned in and love this episode, subscribe and give us a rating. You can find updates on our next season on Instagram at Counselor Off the Clock. I hope you can get comfortable because we are off the clock.
I was in Gatlinburg with my family last week with my parents and my brother and his girlfriend. And I thought a good game would be to play telephone around the fire. Now,
sounds good.
Yeah, my parents' first language is not English. So it was like a little maniacal of me. Like it was a little devious because I was like, I'm gonna win. So
I will confuse them all.
I thought, okay, I grew up in Buffalo, New York. My parents still live there. Rick James is from Buffalo.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, I started the telephone round. My dad ended it. I was like, okay, I'm going to say, she's a super freak, super freaky. Yeah. And I said it to my brother, who said it to his girlfriend, who said it to my stepmom, who said it to my father. And my dad is confused by the time he hears it. He stands up. Jesus, super rica, super rica, super rica. We were like, I don't know if it's like no one else will find it funny. To me, it was like the greatest moment of my life because
this is exactly what you imagined.
It's everything I wanted and more.
Exactly. When you were wanting to play telephone with your immigrant parents.
My immigrant parents was super mean to me. But since they don't know how to watch podcasts. They don't know what that is. I'm totally going to make Jesus Super Rica shirts for Christmas. That's going to be my gift. I'm going to totally do
You did this.
Yeah. But that's how we all grew up. Like there was comedy in my family, like kind of, ripping on each other a little bit. But that's kind of the immigrant way. It's how they assimilated into society. And yeah, it was funny. It was actually really funny. Sorry, Dad. I love you.
Funny. He won't listen to this podcast.
He doesn't know how.
Podcast?
It's not a podcast. They don't know. It's okay.
He doesn't know what this is.
He doesn't know.
Does he even know what counseling is?
Yes.
Okay.
My dad's been to therapy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
He went to therapy before I was born, and then when I was little. Yeah. He was actually the reason I went to therapy. I started therapy. It was court ordered initially when I was 6, but then he kept me in it.
Wow.
So yeah, he's actually quite open about counseling, and my stepmom's been to therapy too.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you don't have to explain, like, here's what I'm doing with my life.
No, they're super proud. They're like really excited.
I bet.
They're very excited about this step.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tina, for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
We have another episode today of At Home. We are at home with Tina, where she's going to tell her story. I met Tina through our mutual friend who was actually on the podcast, Anne Marie. She was on the episode on the mind-body connection, and that's how you got connected with her. And I'm sure we're going to get into all of that. I'm honored to have you on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
So you are actually in school to become a counselor. That's
am.
also how we started talking
Yeah.
because we were at this party. Everybody's like drinking and talking. And I was like, oh, I'm a counselor. And you're like, I must interview
I'm like,
you
"Hello."
right now.
Give me all the details.
Exactly.
You have no other friends at this party any longer.
I will corner you at this party. That's not what you did, but you were actually so kind to me. But yeah, you were like, okay, we need to be friends now because
Like,
I'm going to be a
obviously.
counselor. It's like,
Yeah.
great.
Like we're on the same page.
We are
like
on the
wavelength.
same wavelength.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So let's start. We're
Okay.
gonna go on some ride today. I don't know what it's gonna be.
I'm ready for the journey ahead. The voyage. Let's go, Captain Lydia.
I'm dead. I'm dead.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's swim.
Okay. I need to get started with this
You're like,
podcast.
"Stop it.
Stop
talking." Okay.
So let's start with your first experience with therapy.
Okay.
How old were you?
I was 6.
Okay.
6 years old. I was the victim of a childhood kidnapping
Mm-hmm.
through a very contentious divorce. And that was traumatic for me, to say the least, because I was young enough to not truly understand what was happening, but old enough to feel the emotions around it, to feel scared and to feel like missing my home and missing my father and missing, my life,
Mm-hmm.
my cousins, just any consistency.
And where did it take you?
To Poland.
To Poland.
To Poland.
Okay. And were you born in Poland?
No, I was born here. I was born in New Jersey
Mm-hmm.
and then moved to Buffalo when I was 4,
Mm-hmm.
3 or 4. So I was raised in the Northeast.
Got it.
Yeah. So from what I gather,
Mhm.
we disappeared one day and my dad didn't know where we were. So he spiraled into like a really severe depression. He tells me he was suicidal at this point because, the cops didn't know. No one knew where we were. We were missing persons.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, a couple months, there was a tip off from a relative. And that's when I was brought back.
Yeah.
Um,
How long were you away?
almost 3 months.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I remember just missing my dad. Like I remember, that longing.
Jesus Superica. You missed him.
I missed him. I missed Jesus Superica. So I was put into therapy on
In
a
the
court-ordered
United States.
basis in the United States. Yes.
Got it.
Back in Buffalo. So I started, I remember the sessions. I remember my
Wow.
therapist. She was really, really kind. I don't remember her name, but I remember what she looked like. Very kind woman. And then I just kind of realized it was helping me. And I liked going. That's what I remember. I remember I didn't give any drama about going in. I didn't fight it like I did at the dentist or anything. Like I wanted to go.
Yeah.
It was a good time for me to talk about what I needed to talk about. Like I took it.
Yeah.
I wanted to go. So I kept going.
Even after the court order expired.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And your dad was supportive of that, which
Yes.
I'm a little bit surprised by, actually. Coming from a man, not that men are a certain kind of way, but an immigrant man.
Yeah.
To be so supportive of you in therapy.
Yeah. Of that generation.
Yes.
Boomer generation. My father has been through a lot of trauma. He'd never met his father. He was raised by his grandparents because his mom was sort of in and out of the picture. He struggled with alcoholism. He had to escape, Poland and then had to escape again and went to West Germany and Sweden and had to find where he belonged. I mean, he was a political refugee. So, I think he leaned on therapy.
Wow.
He discovered that through some of his friends in New Jersey, is what I'm told. And he started attending therapy in New Jersey, and he realized it helped him. And he did yoga as well. So that was his release.
Therapy and yoga.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
right.
From an older Polish man.
From an older Polish man,
I
which
love
is
it.
not typical. And I don't know that I would have ventured into going to therapy had I not had that example necessarily beyond the court order, because you can be court ordered to attend therapy, but if you're not participating, it doesn't matter.
Preach.
Retweet. So, it worked for him, and that instilled something in me, I think.
Yeah, I think definitely having supportive parents of your therapy journey can make all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you started going and you're like, this is my space now.
This is good.
I like this. I get to talk about things. What next in your journey?
Around age 8, I was diagnosed with scoliosis. So I had at the time, 40-something degree curve. Excuse me. I had a 40-something degree curve, and I was put into a back brace pretty immediately.
Oh, wow. You must have been really popular then.
Yeah. No. I was made fun of relentlessly. It was really hard.
Yeah. How did they know you had scoliosis? Were you having pain?
I had some pain, but we did the check at school, like the bend over.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And Buffalo, it's like gray and cold, like 8 months out of the year. So I was wearing big sweatshirts.
Got it.
And I wasn't born
catch
with it.
it.
It was idiopathic. So during one of those growth spurts in the winter, my spine curved. It just presented. I started wearing a brace. That was really hard because I had to wear it 23 hours a day. Just took it off to shower. Couldn't play sports.
Did you want to play sports?
I did, because I wanted to be like other kids, right?
Oh, yeah. So what did you do instead?
I started writing songs.
Oh my gosh, Tina.
Age 8.
Age 8. Do you have any of your writings from age 8?
I do.
How are they? Tell us about them.
So I was I was an odd duck as a child in some ways. I was really into Cher.
Okay. Yeah,
when I was like 9. So I read her book called The First Time.
At 9, you read her book.
Cher's book.
Cher's book.
And I was so inspired by Cher's story that I wrote my first song called Gypsy Woman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you sing us a little bit of it?
It was like, Gypsy, she's beautiful with long brown hair. Gypsy, she'll make you cry without a care. It was like dark. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think the next lyrics were
honestly
they were bad. I just remember them. She'll take your heart and rip it out, and after she is through, she'll paint little designs on it just to have some fun with you. Like super. Yeah, we'll unpack that one. So
I literally expected you to be like, no, Lydia, I don't know.
No, I remember it.
This song I wrote at 9 years old.
I remember it.
Wow.
Don't forget your first.
Never forget your first song. Oh my gosh. Okay, honestly, if you tried to publish that.
Yeah, it could work.
It could work.
I feel like Miley could do it. Miley, you there? Yeah.
I don't know who listens to this podcast, so it could be Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, that was my first song.
Wow.
I really found it as like, I expressed myself. I wrote poems. I just loved writing.
So how did your parents then respond to now your newfound love of writing songs?
Yeah. My dad was like, oh, cool. Awesome. You know, my mom, who was back in the picture, she was like, let's put you into singing lessons, and let's put you into songwriting lessons, and let's put you into guitar lessons and piano lessons. And so I started getting ingrained in all the lessons, which was fun. But I think there was like a expectation too.
What was the expectation?
To succeed with it.
To succeed with your 9-year-old hobby. Your 9-year-old way of expressing yourself.
Correct.
You now have to make money off of this.
monetize this.
Yeah. Do you think that has something to do with your parents being immigrants, or just it's your own family trauma?
I think both. I think sometimes, not in every case, but I think immigrants feel like they have a lot to prove. I've seen that in my family. Like, they just really want to be seen as part of the community and part of this, you know, we made it.
Yeah.
We're looked at as equal. That's a big
Yeah.
thing. Pride, right? And then I think my mom was always fascinated with singers and artists and celebrity. So I think she herself wanted to be a performer, and I think that catapulted the drive of, okay, then I'm going to help you do this.
So in some ways, like, they were really proud of you.
Yeah.
And really impressed by your talent. And so how did that morph? Because you got into the music industry.
Very young.
So tell me about that.
So, you know, being made fun of in school, I had an eating disorder. I had bulimia for a long time, just because, you know, wearing a back brace and being made fun of and feeling so distorted about my body, because it was crooked. Learning how to dress, learning how to cover it, like that. It was what my life revolved around. Music gave me such a big confidence boost. It was this arena of my life where I was looked at as, wow, she's good. Whereas other arenas of my life, I was sort of, in my mind, less than, because I couldn't participate in the same activities as kids my age, or I couldn't, you know, ride the roller coasters, or I couldn't do the things that normal kids could do because of my back brace, and I was made fun of. So I can't say that I didn't have some of my own drive. I did.
Yep.
I absolutely did. I was like, I can do this. I can, watch me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'll show you people kind of vibe. Not necessarily the healthiest fuel, but fuel nonetheless.
It is fuel.
So that, combined with my mom's desires for me, turned into, okay, around age 12, let's record some of your songs. Let's record demos. That was my birthday gift. So I recorded some demos around age 12, 13, 4 songs at a studio in Buffalo. And then I watched a documentary. I think it was Britney Spears. And, you know, VH1 Behind the Music.
Yeah.
It was that. And I remember in her story, I'm like watching, and they say that she got a record deal because her parents contacted an entertainment attorney in New York.
Okay.
And I go, okay, well,
Contact an entertainment
obviously
attorney.
I need to do this. So I told my mother that that's what I'd be doing. She was all about it. So I called lawyers pretending to be my mother. Yeah.
So what would you say when you picked up the phone?
My daughter is a great singer. You know, accent and all. Like,
oh yeah.
I just sold it.
You didn't even have to do that.
No,
but
I just sold. I was a method actor. Okay, Lydia.
you practiced in the mirror.
Yeah, exactly. I had to be authentic. No, so I cold call attorneys and somehow got one to like agree to listen to my demo. It was bizarre. I'm 13.
No, you're 40 something, aren't you?
So I send this demo in, and, you know, dude calls me back. Calls my mom.
Calls your mom, obviously.
Calls my mom. And she's like, okay, we're going to New York. So we took a trip.
Oh my gosh.
And I met this attorney who had represented a lot of people. And he agreed to kind of help me find my way. So I met with his wife, who ran a publishing company, and they gave me this little development deal called a development deal. So it wasn't a full-on publishing deal, but it was like, we're going to help you and develop you and put you in rooms and see what happens. So they did. So I started going to New York like twice a month, New York City from Buffalo. So we drive from Buffalo to New York. my mom and I. And my dad was definitely like a little hesitant, a little like, what's going on? You know?
Yeah.
A little more, go become a doctor or something, you
Got
know?
it.
Go become a lawyer, do something safe, like safe. So at that point, things started kind of taking on a life of their own. I started getting bigger sessions, and I landed a couple little songs and some commercials and stuff. And I was like, okay, this is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So then around age 16, my mom said, okay, we're going to move to New York.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So how do you think
Yeah.
that impacted you, your mom being the one championing you?
Yeah.
How did your mom's relationship with you influence what was happening?
I think at that point, I really wanted our relationship to be good
Mhm.
and to be real and to be close.
Mhm.
So I was like going to do anything to make that happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So despite my father and my stepmom being like, please don't move to New York City at 16 with her. Like,
Yeah.
because that was hard too. Like, I look back, and in the moment at age 16, I was like, let's go. LFG.
Right.
Because I'm 16
You're
and my
16.
prefrontal cortex is not developed.
No, it's not.
But I look back now and I go, what was that? Like, it was
Yep.
trauma.
Wow.
Because I left the house I grew up in, my dad and stepmom's house. My little brother had just been born. He was 1.5 years old when I moved. My cousins, who are like my sisters, they're not cousins, they're sisters. Like that, they were not in the picture anymore. Like everything was about this goal and like being with her.
Yeah. Yeah. So you left everything in order to pursue a dream that was part yours, part your mom's.
Yes.
And it was something you bonded over.
Correct.
And she felt proud of you because you had this. You were also getting positive attention. And I'm guessing coming from a middle school and high school experience where you were made fun of and excluded to now be talented and popular.
Yes. Back brace came off.
Back brace came off. And so this is a huge ego boost.
Correct.
Building your self-esteem. Now I have my mom. I have my talent, and I'm going to go, show the world.
Let's go. Yeah.
Let's go.
And, there were, as I think with any journey, there were some good things. Like I switched high schools, obviously. I went to Sleepy Hollow High. Go Horsemen. Which
I didn't even know that was a thing.
it's a real place.
It's a real
Yeah.
place.
It's about 30 minutes north of Manhattan.
And it's haunted, right?
Obviously. It's like a Halloween town. It's great. It's so fun at Halloween. It's a great little town. And I made
LFG, let's
right?
go.
I made lifelong friends there. I made really great friends in that school. It was a super diverse community. Most of my friends, a lot of my friends were first generation Americans like me from, they had parents from all over the world. So that was cool. It was like, oh, I'm relating to these people.
Either that or they were ghosts. Have you thought about that?
Are you sixth sensing me? Oh God. Was it real? Is this Inception? Okay.
Okay, so they were all they were immigrants too, and so there was some like understanding of each other. That wasn't the case in Buffalo?
Not as much. Like there were my cousins obviously are first gen, but there wasn't as much. Yeah. Of first generation American population in my age group. So it was just cool. Like my friends were, just they introduced me to all different kinds of music. Like it was like a really growing experience. I think my mother thought we would be together all the time, and I was like, peace, and I was like out partying with my friends.
Yeah, because you could wear cute clothes now.
Yeah. Even though I kept hiding my body, I knew I knew how to strategically wear cute clothes that still covered my curve, because my curve was still there. It had just stopped growing. My bones had stopped growing, which is why the brace came off. So yeah, but that experience was in some ways really me coming into my own.
Now, were you still struggling with bulimia at that point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I was. I had struggled with bulimia until I was about 24. It was like a 10-year journey. And there were moments where it was harder than others. There were moments where I wasn't as, ingrained in that, and other moments where it was more prevalent depending on my stress level.
Was your mom aware?
Yes. Yep. But at that point I didn't go to therapy. I wasn't asked to go to therapy. I wasn't, encouraged to go to therapy. Yeah. It was just sort of, I really felt in some ways like, okay, I'm figuring out who I am and I'm going to do this on my own. And my dad wanted me to move back so bad and finish high school. And, I get that. I look back and I go, I get that. Like as a parent, I would want that too.
He wanted you probably to be normal.
He didn't want me to go.
Yeah.
But he's not the type of person that was going to, fight it or anything. At that point I was 16 and he's kind of like, he didn't want to strain our relationship.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have been really hard on him.
Yeah.
To let you go.
Yeah, it was.
But he trusted you.
He did.
And so it seems like that moment was very pivotal in your life journey.
Yes.
Is leaving Buffalo, moving to New York.
Yep.
And then pursuing music.
And it started working. I graduated high school. I had all these connections in the industry. I was writing songs. And I got into NYU's Tisch School of the Arts, Clive Davis department, which was a fairly new department at that time. It was recorded music. So I studied audio engineering, music business, music publishing. So, I went to NYU. I moved. I did the thing,
Yeah.
Lived in Washington Square Park. It was great. I made friends.
Wow. Like check.
Yeah. It was pretty great.
You had everything.
My view of my dorm was like the arch in the park, and I had like live jazz out my window on Saturdays. It was a great time to be in New York. It was just a really good time. This was 2006. Did the city thing, I was like, I'm on Sex
girl.
and the City.
Yeah.
I'm
you
Carrie. Though I was more of a Charlotte, but yes. Loved Carrie's clothes though. But yeah, so I did the thing, and I didn't have a lot of scholarship, to NYU, and I came from an immigrant family. So my father and stepmom co-signed my loan, and they said, what is your goal? And I said, I want to get a record deal. That's my goal. And I think I can do it through this department. I can meet people.
Yeah.
They go, okay, we're doing this for 1 year. We are co-signing this loan for 1 year.
Oh my gosh.
And if you don't get a record deal, you need to go to a cheaper school because we're not going to let you get into 6 figures of debt.
Understandable.
Yeah. Because I would have had to take out like $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
So, and I had gotten a scholarship to go to the State University of New York.
Yeah. Why they let 18-year-old people sign sign so much debt into their name. And yes, you don't have like full capacity to make like logical decisions. You're just like,
again,
New
prefrontal
York.
cortex.
I know, you're New York, and I just want to do all the things, and this is my path forward in life. When we both know you could have gone to some community college and you probably still would have made it.
Yeah, exactly.
But you had to like learn that lesson, and it seems like, God, I love your dad because he supported you, but he also set boundaries.
Yes.
To say, I'm going to support you this far. I can't support you forever in making decisions that I think are poor.
He said, and my stepmom too, if this doesn't work, come back to Buffalo and get a degree here, and you can live at our house. And, they were... Which is the logical situation.
Yeah. Probably at 19, you're like, you don't love me.
I'm gonna make it.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. That
was me.
It wasn't like, oh, boo-hoo. It was like,
no, I was like,
I'll show you.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
So my freshman year, I got a record deal.
You are one determined lady.
I am.
Uh-huh.
So I dropped out of NYU. I was like, I don't need you. But I had a great time while I was there. Loved my professors, loved my friends, still have lifelong friends.
It served its purpose.
It served its purpose. It did what I wanted it to do. I made connections. I got a record deal. I signed it July of my freshman year, so right after I had finished my second semester. So dropped out, signed with Universal Motown, and yeah, started making my record.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Got an apartment in Queens, in Long Island City.
You were kind of, again, it's like check, check, check. You were doing everything that, were you lucky? Were you talented? Were you, how in the world, so many people, maybe listening to this podcast, maybe not listening to this podcast, would love to be in the music industry.
Yeah.
And it seems like you got plan A all the way through.
Yeah. I mean, I had started young, right?
That's
And I
true.
had connections young. I'd built something already.
Mhm.
But, you know, I do believe things happen for a reason. Like, that's my belief system. And I just think it was supposed to happen at that time. And I learned.
Yeah.
And I was very excited. I was very, like, I was excited, but I was just like, I knew it would happen. Like, I was totally a little cocky. And I, you know, I have talent and I work hard, and I think that's a good combination. It doesn't always yield results. But at that time it did. And I got to, you know, about 3 weeks later, after I signed my first like record deal, I flew out to LA for the first time. And I was like staying in West Hollywood and, you know, working with some of the producers that like made the records that influenced my entire like childhood and teenage years. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, it was insane.
And
like,
you wrote for Cher, didn't you?
No, I didn't write for Cher. No.
You wrote for somebody. We were talking about
I've written
something.
songs for a bunch of artists. Britney Spears, Celine Dion. Yeah. Like,
Celine. That's what I was
Celine.
thinking.
Yeah.
I was like, you told me you wrote for somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Cher, if you're out there. I love the book.
I have a song I want to sing you. It's called Gypsy Woman.
It's your song. It's for you. Yeah, so it was, you know, quite a journey. It was really cool. And I got to do, you know, I made a music video and I had a single out on the radio, and
What kind of music were you singing?
Pop. Like, just various pop. Like, I was more rock leaning pop, which was kind of the vibe in 2007 and 8.
Yeah.
Had
to have a little bit of angst.
A little bit. A little, like, you know. But
a
then,
little rebel. I'm a
punk.
rebel.
Yeah. But then I had a little bit of like a soulful influence just naturally from my voice and some hip hop rhythm. And I kind of combined a lot of stuff, which was fun, but probably why I never like got to the biggest level, because I couldn't like pick a lane. Like, I loved everything so much. I loved listening to everything, and it was genuinely all music I loved and loved to make.
Yeah.
So I put out a song and it went top 40 on Billboard, and I'm like, you know, opening up for some of my heroes, and I'm playing arenas, and I'm on radio tour, which means I'm flying to different cities every day for months at a time, playing on radio stations and trying to get them to add my song. And
what was that life like?
Really, really great, and really, really hard. Like, definitely great. I did it. Pumped I did it. Could not do it for long term. Like, any artist that has that in them, I have massive respect for, because it is such a difficult lifestyle. Like, I was gone for months at a time, and I would remember, like, okay, I'd wake up in Dallas and do the morning show, jump on a plane to Tulsa, do the evening show, and then, you know, play a club gig in Tulsa, and then get up 4 hours later and do it all over again. Like, this was my lifestyle. It's not sustainable. Like, it's incredibly
Now, was your
hard.
mom also traveling with you?
No.
Okay. You were on your own then.
Yeah, I was on my own. She probably wanted to, but I was like, I'm good. So it was like me and my tour manager and my guitar player.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I'm just, you know, I got to see the whole country.
Wow.
That was really good. That was my favorite part. Just like, I haven't been to all states, but I've been to a lot of them. Yeah. You know, and like played music in them all.
Yeah.
So that was really fun.
Doing what you love and you were talented at.
Yeah.
And were praised for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a good review in Billboard magazine. I still remember that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is, what a lot of musicians dream of is the success that you have found. You found.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, but you found that it wasn't sustainable for your life. So then what?
I started having panic attacks on the road.
Okay.
Looking back, I think a lot of it had to do with just not sleeping.
Got it.
Like I just didn't sleep. And I'm a very light sleeper. I didn't sleep well in a van or on a bus or on a plane. Like I was just never sleeping. And I'm a creature of routine. I need routine, like that, what I eat, what I know when I sleep, like that's important. I think for a lot of people, my mental health just was tanking. And my eating disorder was at its peak.
Got it.
At its peak. Like being in the spotlight, having magazine articles and photo shoots and endorsement deals and things, like you're so inundated with your image. And this was 2009, right? So the culture at that point was not really, body positivity wasn't prevalent. There was just a lot of emphasis on my looks.
Yeah.
And a lot of pressure externally.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I didn't hear it specifically from my record label, I heard it from my peers or just, fashion designers or people fitting me for things or, makeup artists. People made comments and it was really, really hard.
How did your scoliosis play into that?
I had a lot of pain on the road because I just wasn't resting my body properly. So just having that constant reminder that the scoliosis was there exasperated the eating disorder on top of always being photographed on red carpets and stuff. So it was learning how to dress for the scoliosis was a big, big secret I always kept. I always kind of, oh, I don't want to wear that. Well, why? You'd look great in it. Oh, I just don't want to because I knew it'd be tight fitting on the top and I can't show my back. So it was always on my mind because my image was always on my mind.
Yeah. So what was your relationship with your body at that point?
Definitely not a great one. Definitely toxic. Definitely. I look back and I feel sad for how I treated my body and how I spoke of it and viewed it, perceived it, just.
What did that sound like?
It affected everything from the type of men I dated to, how I dressed to what I ate to what I didn't eat to, my mental just capacity was so limited because I thought so much about what I looked like.
Yeah.
Will I look good in this video? Will I look good in this photo shoot? What about, I look a little heavy in that picture. I look, just constant surveillance.
Body checking.
Always.
Yeah. Yeah. With the spotlight really on you.
Yes.
I'm sure it highlighted those insecurities that you were being praised for, your talent, and you were probably spending so much time on your skill, your talent. But so much of your energy went towards, okay, but I also have to look good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I want to win.
If you want to win. What was winning?
Achieving consistent success, having multiple songs that worked. So I was constantly writing. And I'd signed a publishing deal. And
you were writing on the road? Oh my gosh. So on top of like traveling and performing and promoting, you were also writing.
Yeah.
And to write, you have to be pretty creative.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you were very drained.
Yes.
Yeah, no wonder you had panic attacks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense.
And I was kind of in the caffeine alcohol cycle. Like I was like coffee to get, stay awake, and then
alcohol to fall asleep. Yeah.
And that was not sustainable either. So after a little while of that, I parted ways with my record label.
Yeah.
And I ended up moving to Los Angeles because I'd signed a publishing deal. And I thought, maybe I'll just write for other people.
Okay.
Because the artist thing's kind of hard for me.
Yeah.
This is hard for many reasons. And, LA just wasn't for me. It just wasn't like, it's just not, I like visiting. I enjoy visiting. I enjoy writing out there. My current manager lives out there. Like I love having a few California days, and then I like need to like leave. Like it's just not where I want to live full time.
Yeah.
I'm such an East Coaster / like Southerner now. Like it's just not for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was not a good fit for you. Yeah. From what I've experienced going to LA once, I was just like, everybody is so thin and white and blonde.
Yeah.
It's like, and seemingly rich.
Yeah. Seemingly.
I was just like, hi, I'm friendly. And
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't need to eat a salad for every single meal.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I'm hungry.
I'm
I was like, I'm hungry.
That's my experience of, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I'm hungry when I'm there.
And it's not all bad. Like, there's some great stuff about it. Like, I love the weather. The beach is great. Like, some great food. But the culture, especially at that point, this was 2011, I couldn't get in. I couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it.
Well, after being on the road for so long, you were probably very burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
And then to go to LA, which is a whole nother beast that you have to be promoting yourself. It's still image focused. It's kind of the same vibe.
Yeah. On steroids.
On steroids. That's now your life.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to travel for it. It's just there.
Yeah.
And so I understand. So then where did you go?
I came back to New York.
Okay.
And I kind of took a pause.
Buffalo?
No, New York City.
New York City.
Back to Queens. And I took a bit of a beat with music. I took a break. I ended up working at this little educational play center in Queens, and I taught little kids yoga and music and like art.
Gosh.
I just like needed a minute.
What a huge change of pace.
Mm-hmm. I knew I needed it.
Yeah.
And I'd started going back to therapy.
Oh, how beautiful.
So I just needed a second. And when I was living in LA, my then publisher had sent me to Nashville a couple times for writing. And Nashville, like, it was on my mind the entire time I was in Queens. And like everyone I knew in the music business from New York had started moving here to Nashville. They were New York was kind of, the creative scene had started to die at that point. It was just becoming so unaffordable that I think creatives couldn't sustain as easily. So I decided to move to Nashville. I was like, okay, I'm either going to like finish my degree and like go back to Buffalo, or I'm going to go to Nashville. And I just felt good about Nashville. So I moved here in 2012. And I've lived here since.
Oh my gosh.
And I really love it here.
Yeah. So you stayed in the music industry.
I did.
Did you find a way for it to be more sustainable for you?
I think eventually what I liked about Nashville was the songwriters that I knew, they kind of worked a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 lifestyle. And not that there weren't evening events and things like that, but it was much more balanced than LA or New York. So it felt like this is something I could do. And I liked that, you know, it was warm climate, but it was close to, I could visit my family easier than being in California. There was just something about the pace of life in the South that I hadn't experienced when I lived in Buffalo, New York, or California, that initially frustrated me. Like I'd be like, I'm at the grocery store and like, why is the cash out person talking to me? And like, no one's putting their stuff on the belt fast enough. And, you know, but now it's like, I go, hey, how are you? And like, there is a genuineness. There are a lot of people here that really want to ask how you're doing.
Tina, I need you to stop talking so positively about Nashville.
I like it.
Because I don't need more people moving here.
I know.
Don't move here. It's horrible.
It's awful.
It's so bad. The people are almost like too nice.
They're like,
can we say that?
They're
too
nice. They're toxic nice.
They're so awful how everybody is nice.
It's so kind. It's definitely a farce.
Don't move here.
Yeah, I just loved it.
Yeah, it's a great place to live.
It is.
Yeah.
I've lived a lot of places and been a lot of places, and it's a special place.
Yeah.
For
so then how did you're not in the rat race, I guess, and you've slowed down your pace of life in New York City, and then you've slowed down your pace even more moving here. How did that affect now your relationship with your body?
It got better.
Okay.
my bulimia, by the time I was 24, 25 was pretty much mitigated.
Mm.
And I'd started seeing therapists here, which
Yeah.
was wonderful. And just started building a life for myself. I started writing, I started getting cuts, I started, seeing my name as a songwriter on songs, and I could live this life without having to tour and without having to put my body through,
Yeah.
more emotional swings and more physical swings and,
Yeah.
and toxicity and
And then you
Yeah.
chose to have a surgery.
yeah. So 2 years ago, I had such bad back pain, 2.5
Yeah.
years ago, that I started losing feeling in my left leg.
Mm.
And my husband was like, we gotta talk to a doctor. I couldn't deny it anymore. I had been good at denial.
Hiding and
Pretend
Yeah.
I'm fine. I can deal with the pain.
Mhm.
I remember being in a grocery store after my husband and I had that conversation and seeing an elderly man with a straight spine
Mhm.
kind of struggling with his cart.
Mhm.
And I had the thought, well, if he's struggling at that age, what am I going to be
Mm.
if I don't get a hold of this?
Mhm.
So I met with several surgeons. I was willing to fly anywhere. I wanted to have a really secure surgery
Mhm.
and control as much as I could.
Yeah.
And I ended up having surgery with an amazing doctor here named Dr. O'Shaughnessy at St. Thomas Ascension. And it was a 10-hour operation. I had
Wow.
28 screws and 3 rods put into my back. I gained 3 inches in height from the surgery because my rib
Wow,
cage
yep.
was stretched out. I had some complications.
Yes.
To no fault of anyone's, it's just my back had deteriorated so badly.
Yeah.
It had become an 88-degree curvature, which
Wow.
my surgeon said they only see in countries where there are no surgeons because
Nobody would let it get that far.
nobody would let it get that far.
Yeah.
But I had been told my whole life
Mhm.
by my mom that, oh, surgeries may be bad and maybe hurt, maybe you'll die.
Mhm.
So I had this trauma and I just never confronted it. And I surrounded myself with medical professionals that were more alternative and didn't think surgery was necessary. Because I surrounded myself with people that validated what I wanted to hear as opposed to what I needed to hear, which was that this was going to paralyze me.
Yeah.
So basically I would have been in a wheelchair if I hadn't done it.
Wow.
So that was my option. And, thank God it worked. I would do it all over again, despite the complications. I had my lungs collapse. I had my spine filled up with fluid and was compressing my brain and spinal cord. I fainted. I came back from the hospital. I went home from the hospital 10 days after my surgery. I was supposed to be home 5 days after, but because I had lung collapse, I had to stay longer.
Yeah.
Then the next day I fainted and I had to take an ambulance back to the hospital because my lungs filled up, or rather my rib cage filled up with fluid and my back and all that. So they had to test my fluid for sepsis to make sure I wasn't septic.
Yeah.
I was in the ICU for 20 nights.
Yeah. So we have this like contentious relationship with your body, and now we have trauma related to your body. What meaning do you make out of that?
My body was more resilient than I ever gave it credit for.
Wow. Yeah.
And it fought for me. Like I could have died with the lung collapse and with the fluid on my brain. I had 600 milliliters of fluid on my spinal cord and compressing my brain. And then I had a pleural effusion with 900 milliliters of fluid. So this lung collapsed.
I don't even know what that is, but it sounds bad.
So this lung collapsed in the hospital. Then I go home 10 days later. I faint and come back to the hospital the next day. And then they found this lung had collapsed from a pleural effusion is when the whole cavity fills up with fluid.
Wow.
And they had to drain it while I was awake. It was
Yeah.
hard.
So really like your interpretation now is, wow, my body is resilient.
So resilient.
At the time, was that also your interpretation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a very strong faith system, and I just prayed a lot, and I really believed that I would be okay, even in the darkest moments. Like, I had this sense of peace, like God was with me, and I was going to be okay no matter what. I kind of accepted whatever was going to happen, as morbid as that was. Like, in the ICU, I'm hearing people dying.
Yeah.
Like, I heard people die. Like, it was, I just remember how badly I wanted to be at home with my husband. So the first ICU stay, he didn't leave. He didn't go home for 10 nights.
Yeah.
He just stayed there. But then the second stay, they had different COVID protocols. Because I was in a different hospital, he had to go home. So it was like I was just kind of left to my thoughts and, you know, my faith and
Yeah.
what grounded me.
So despite like the circumstances, which is I'm being hit consistently with like things that are my life is at risk. And I'm choosing to not pay attention to my current circumstances and focusing on the belief that I have that everything is going to be okay.
And even if it wouldn't be how I wanted it, that I would somehow find a way to survive and find joy. Because I definitely had a few thoughts of, did I do the right thing doing this?
I'm sure.
Did I pick the right time to do it? Should I have done it 10 years ago? Then I maybe not. Likely, medically speaking, I probably would not have had the complications I had I done the surgery sooner.
Yeah.
But I was not emotionally prepared. And I think that matters. Because I knew going into the surgery that I would have a good 2 years of recovery. That's full recovery. And that the first year in particular, I would have a lot of recovery. I'd have to relearn how to walk. I mean, I had orthostatic hypotension, which is because of my new height. My body had to get used to pumping blood at a higher height. So I would faint constantly. Like the first 2 weeks, I was just like, you know, like even after I got out of the hospital and after everything happened, those 2 weeks of being at home, I had to, because my lungs collapsed. My capacity was so low that I couldn't sing. I couldn't sing a full song. I didn't have the capacity, which would just make me cry. Excuse me. So when I say I had to sort of accept whatever would happen, I didn't know if I'd ever sing like I could again. I didn't know how my lungs would bounce back. I was mentally prepared to rehab my back. I was not mentally prepared to rehab my lungs.
Yeah. And it seems like your whole body really had to relearn how to be.
Yes. I had to relearn how to walk. I had to walk with a walker for a while.
Yeah. So after these years of borderline like abuse of your body,
it was abuse.
And now to have your life at risk, how does that change your relationship with your body now? Now you're 2 years post-op, recovered. I don't know if you are, but yes.
I'm recovered, yeah.
Yeah, how does that change your view of your body and your relationship with your body now?
I appreciate it.
Wow.
So much. And
what does that look like then to show appreciation to your body?
My surgeon told me to really focus on core strength. So did my physical therapist, Anne-Marie. Dr.
So
Anne-Marie.
Yeah.
She's a sultry girl. She deserves sultry. Anne-Marie was such a light at a really, really dark time.
Yeah.
Like, she came into my life at the perfect moment. I remember being in the waiting room. I don't even know if she knows this, and seeing her and like hearing her voice and going, I hope I'm with her.
Oh,
and, like,
my
her vibe. I did. I was like, oh,
she has a great vibe.
Yeah. And she made me believe I could do more than I thought I could.
Yeah.
So now I'm pretty meticulous about, you know, taking care of my body and my spinal fusion, because I worked so hard for this to exist.
Yeah.
And I no longer have numb legs. I can hike, I can swim, I can walk, I can ride my bike.
Yeah, you can't lean forward. But...
I cannot touch my toes or do much yoga, but I can do a lot that I couldn't. I remember like the week before surgery, I started sobbing in my kitchen because I couldn't chop vegetables at my counter. I was in so much pain. It felt like there was a knife in my back. So this was like, I have so much freedom now.
you don't have as much pain.
Mm-mm.
And a new appreciation for the strength of your body.
I still have painful moments, and I need certain pillows, and I need a very comfortable mattress, and
yeah,
I,
you came to my house and you had house shoes.
I had house shoes because they discovered after surgery that my right leg is considerably shorter.
What is my left? What is my right?
Yes, literally. My right leg is considerably shorter than my left. So
Yeah.
like I wear a lift, so I can't really walk barefoot. If I walk barefoot, this knee hurts so much.
Yeah.
So like instantly, almost 2 minutes into walking. So I have to be like really good with my lifts. But, you know, I just appreciate my body. I try to strengthen the muscles that I need to, you know, I'm pretty regimented, and it makes me feel better, you know?
Yeah. So how has that journey affected your career path then?
When I was laying in the ICU with really nothing but my own thoughts and like in my belief system, God, I was stripped of any identity other than just sort of human. Like I put so much weight, even if I wasn't conscious of it, in the identity of being a singer and a songwriter. That was my entire identity in a lot of ways. And being in that ICU for 20 nights, I realized how unhealthy that was, because I didn't know if I'd ever be able to sing normally again, which actually I sing better than before surgery. But I didn't know that at the time.
Right.
So I decided when I was laying there to sort of do some self-work and think and journal and go, who am I? If this gets taken away.
Yeah, all this that I've
The
worked
music.
so hard for, that has built up my self-esteem, my confidence, that
My
has given me
identity.
my identity. Yeah, what if I don't have that?
Then who
Who
am
am I?
Mhm.
Wow, that
And-
must have been like a huge redefinition of yourself then.
Yeah. But I welcomed it. I was like, you know, I had an incredible medical team.
Mm-hmm.
Like my surgeon. I mean, when I went into the OR, they had to give me anxiety meds because I was levitating. I was literally shaking. I was so nervous. And you know, with the type of surgery I had, there's a risk of death. There's a risk of paralysis. I just remember praying, being like, God, please let me wiggle my toes when I wake up. That's all I want. I want to be able to wiggle them and know that I can walk.
Yep.
So I remember them saying there were almost 20 people in the room, you know, scrub nurses, you know, assistants, pulmonologists. I mean, it was like cardiology. I had and they were all incredibly kind and so nice and like laughing and made jokes. One doctor came over. She goes, "Do you want me to like pray with you?" And I was like, "Yes, I'd actually love that."
Oh my god.
And she did. And I remember sobbing. And it was like, I just had such a great care staff. And the nurses were, man, they work hard. Like ICU nurses have my utmost respect.
Yeah.
They work too hard.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just had a really great team because I was in so many appointments, right? I went from surgery to aftercare to ICU to pulmonologists to, I mean, OTs to
Right.
PTs.
I was
and
about to say, then back home, then back to the hospital.
Yes, ambulance. I mean,
Yeah.
the ambulance, you know, the emergency personnel. I remember the one woman was like rubbing my head, you know, because I was in so much pain and I had to lay on my side and I could feel every bump and my back was just raw. God. Like it was grueling. And also my pain management, my medications, I allegedly, first of all, I'm allergic to morphine, which we found out.
Oh.
And then I metabolize medication at twice the rate of a normal person. But opiates can only be given to you every 6 hours. So they would work for 3 and then the next 3 would be screaming in pain. And this was for months. So it was like, it was just hell. And so when you're stripped of everything that makes you who you are, I just kind of, and the reason I say I had great medical staff was they inspired me to help others.
Wow.
And I sat with that and I said, okay, well, I know what I'm bad at. There's a lot of things I'm not great at, like math. If I'm at a restaurant, I will always take out my calculator to do the tip. It's just how I am. but I know I'm a good communicator.
Mm-hmm.
And I've worked very hard at that, both in my career as a writer and in therapy as a human. And I realized that maybe I could help people communicate their feelings to themselves or communicate their feelings to one another.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is something I could do. I just had this yearning to help others the way I was being helped.
Yeah.
So I decided to, while I was recovering, finish my bachelor's in psychology because I really couldn't do anything else. I couldn't sing, I couldn't write. I mean, so I just kind of, I took the time to finish my bachelor's in psych, and I did.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I started graduate school.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, so a new identity.
A new identity.
A new identity that doesn't revolve around performance.
No. And I still write music, and I love it.
And you still write music.
And it's not...
I know, I remember we were newly friends, and I was watching Love is Blind, and I literally watched your name pop up on the screen. And I was like, this is so weird.
It's pretty cool.
So weird.
I'm very grateful because it's...
Yeah.
So when I started my own company 4 years ago, I wanted to get into sync music, which was being an artist again. Not just writing for other people, but...
Sync music.
Sync.
Tell me what.
Sync licensing. So synchronization, meaning... licensing songs to films, TV shows, commercials, advertisements, promo campaigns, and being my own artist. So I make my own records, I make my own songs, and my wonderful team pitches it. And, you know, thankfully they land, and hopefully will continue to, because I really love it. And what's cool is I get to do all kinds of music styles. I don't have to pick a lane.
Yeah.
Which is what I had to do kind of as a major label artist, and which is why I probably didn't make a great major label artist because I couldn't really pick one. I liked it all. So now I get to kind of, wherever the inspiration takes me, I get to write, and it's really fun.
I think this is like often where we see like trauma transformed is how do we take that and not let it destroy us, but how do we use it as fuel and as our strength? And it seems like that's part of what you have done with your music career is all the things that made you bad and you had to hide and work around are now your strengths.
All day long.
Yeah.
And after my surgery, I decided to put out like an album that talked about my spine and the journey, and I made the cover art my scar, because instead of hiding behind clothes or behind denial, I decided to put it out there.
Wow.
And maybe help some people along the way, because there's a wonderful scoliosis community on Instagram, and a lot of these great, it's namely women, not all women, men can have scoliosis, but a lot of women tend to have scoliosis more. And just they all put their scar out there. They all put these beautiful photos of their beautiful scars. So I just decided to make that my album, and then I donated a percentage of anything that album would earn to, in sync placements or otherwise, to World Spine Outreach, which my friend, some of my friends in Buffalo run, and it's a organization that performs scoliosis surgeries in third world countries for free. So that was really exciting because I got to help a little bit, you know, fund some of that around a trip center to the DR. So that's really amazing because a lot of people that live in remote villages, they'll walk miles and miles to come have these operations, you know. It's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah.
So I just decided to talk about it and make it, you know, part of my identity and part of my story and not hide. And I wear, you know, backless dresses all the time now that show my scar off.
It's on, like, even talking to you, it was one of the first things we actually talked about. This isn't a part of you that you hid away. I really appreciate how open you've been with your story.
Thank you.
And you truly are an inspiration. I know you probably hate me saying
I'm like,
that.
I'm nauseous.
Well,
no, it's sweet. I just get uncomfortable because it's like, I don't know. I'm just kind of trying to.
Well, I just see how much
you
have worked to transform your pain.
It's hard, but, you know, anyone out there struggling with whether it's scoliosis or an eating disorder or any medical trauma, like, I don't even know what to say. It's like, I don't know that I have advice other than, you know, tune into your body and try to appreciate it. Because in a moment where I didn't know if my body would survive, it did wonders for me. And it was really good to me, despite how bad I was to it.
Yeah.
I abused my body, that I can assuredly say.
Yeah.
And it still was like, I'm going to fight for you. Bless you. Bless you. Bless you. You have a cute sneeze. I'm going to fight for you. And my body fought for me. And now I fight for it. And I'm choosing paths in my life that will hopefully make aging better. With a large spinal fusion. And that takes discipline, and it's not always fun. But I really want to feel good because I didn't for a long time.
Yeah.
I just appreciate it. And I appreciate you saying that. I hope I can be inspiration. I mean, I would have loved to have some people, you know, that I could have looked to. So like that's why I wanted to put that record out and put it out there. I just hoped anyone, like one person, right, could be impacted. And like I got all these messages from really young girls, and I'll get emotional, who, you know, just said thank you. And like just remembering that I was in that place and how hard it was. I was like, man, if I could make one person feel better, then I feel good. I feel like maybe it was all worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to like find thankfulness about like the depths of our suffering. But it seems like that's what you've found.
I really have. And you phrased that so well. I don't know that I would be as empathetic, as compassionate, or as driven to become a therapist had I not suffered, not just with my body, but with a lot of the trauma in my life. I had trauma in the music business too.
Yeah.
You know, so just all of the trauma that I've been through, I don't think I could take it any of it back. It's so strange to say that.
Right.
It's very strange to admit that out loud.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of, I'm like, what did I just say in public?
Did I literally just say that?
What did I say? But I don't think
Yeah.
I could. I don't think I could take it back.
Yeah.
I mean,
my therapist would tell me like when I would have something hard happen or weird or a mistake, and she would say, that is going to make you a better therapist.
interesting.
And I think it was the reframe I really needed for those dark moments that truly has helped my career.
Really?
Because I can get in touch with my suffering.
Right.
Sitting with other people.
Right.
And this is actually perfect. I didn't even plan this, but for these at-home episodes, I'm wondering if you can offer a message of hope. I feel like that's what we need more of in the world.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if you could offer a piece of hope to our listeners.
My message of hope would be that in any circumstance, you can find your people. If you look, you're not alone. And I do believe that people will come into your life when they're supposed to, and you might have to search it out a little bit. Whether it's, I found a great scoliosis support community on Instagram, to the medical team that I worked with, to meeting you at Anne-Marie's Halloween party.
Yeah.
And just connecting with you on a real level, you know? Because we connected before I knew you were a therapist. So I was just like, I like her. And I'm going to like chill with her and her baby. Her baby's really cute. Because Dakota was tiny at that point. She was like, how old was she?
I have no idea.
Tiny. I mean, tiny. So I think my message of hope is that there's always someone out there that can help you, professional or otherwise, and to not give up on yourself. Oh, that one made me cry. Don't give up on yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's not always easy, and it's not always perfect, and it won't be perfect. I have down days now. I have days where, you know, balancing school and running my business is really stressful, or taking care of my back, or my back really hurts some days and I can't go to certain social functions, and family or friends don't understand, you know, the pain and like why I need a certain mattress to sleep on or why I need this or that. You know, it's like,
Right.
but you know what? At the end of the day, like, fighting for myself was so worth it. Like, just don't give up on yourself. Like, there's always a way forward.
So
Truly, like, and it may not be easy, but man, it's worth it.
yeah.
It's so worth it. It
Yeah.
really is.
Even with the suffering.
Even with
worth
the
it.
suffering.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Healing is possible.
Goodness gracious, you are full of hopeful messages, aren't you?
Healing is so possible.
Yeah. And for a person who has experienced a lot of trauma, to be as hopeful as you are, takes a lot of work.
Yeah. And I still work at it. I have a therapy appointment after this.
Thank goodness.
I knew I'd need it. No, it's
Yeah.
Tuesdays for me. But
Yeah.
I still work at it.
Yeah.
I have to catch myself. I'm a human.
Yes. Barely.
I guess. I'm
I
like
guess.
half robot because I'm pretty metal. I got
Yeah.
a lot of metal.
Now, if people want to follow your music career or your story or your transformation into a therapist, where can they find you?
My Instagram at Tina Parol, which is TinaParol. Tina Parol on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you listen to music.
Yeah.
The album that was written about scoliosis is called I Am a Fighter.
Yeah.
So you can check that out. And one of the songs from that album is in the trailer for, what's the movie called? Look Both Ways on Netflix, which was cool, starring Lily Reinhart. And check out World Spine Outreach. They're really great. I also like to shout out Music Health Alliance because I'm on their board. And they changed my life. I was a client when I first moved here. They helped me pay for a back brace I needed as an adult.
Wow.
And now I'm on their board, and I don't know that I would have been able to stay in Nashville and stay in music without that help. And they built a mental health fund the last few years. I went to Tatum Alsep, who's the CEO, great friend, and in 2018 I was like, can we do a mental health symposium? And it was so successful that she decided to start a fund, and they started this fund, and now they've provided almost 5,000 counseling sessions to people in the music industry in all 50 states. Another key inspiration for me becoming a therapist was seeing that and helping MHA as little as I help, because they're angels. They're the ones who do the work. I just kind of ask people to donate. So
Yes, you can donate to them. I'll link all of this information in the show notes.
Yes, thank you.
And pay attention to the TV shows and movies you're watching, because you might actually see
You might hear me.
and hear Tina. Oh my goodness.
It'd be cool.
Thank you for so much for coming on and being vulnerable and sharing your story. Not in a way to report it, but in a way that is very present oriented. And I am honored to have you in my life.
Oh, I feel the same. I really do. Like, I feel grateful to know you. I really do.
Yeah, I feel the same.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you did enjoy this episode, I know this is kind of like a new series, and so if you like hearing people's stories, please let us know. I don't know what the people like. Miley, if you're out there, share if you're out there. Let us know if you like stories or if you want to hear from a mental health expert. This is actually our last episode of the season.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hashtag honored.
Hashtag honored.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to be taking a break for at least June, if not June and July. Mama needs a break.
Yeah, girl. Do
So,
you. Yeah.
After 16 episodes, I'm very proud of what we've put out into the world. But it's time for me to take a step back and refuel for our next season. So if there are things that are on your heart that you want to hear about, experts you want to hear from, please let me know. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Counselor Off the Clock. And we'll be posting updates on there for when our next season will be dropping. will be released. I am Lydia Thompson, and I hope you got comfortable because we are off the clock.